D47 for real all day, AMP and pop-off. Popping as much rugby league information as possible. Right now, continuing with the first games by every team F series, up to Parramatta Eels doing it alphabetically, so you don't miss any essential rugby league information watching this video in its entirety as per always. So, Parramatta Eels first ever game, the 1947 round 1 game, a thumping 34 points to 12 loss to Newtown Jets at Cumberland Oval, which was Parramatta's original home ground. And this thumping loss in round 1, a sign of much more is ready to come, not just in 1947, but for many years to follow in fact. But before we go for all that, we'll do first things first and do Parramatta's first ever game. So, Parramatta's first ever game, played at Cumberland Oval, refereed by Ray Smith on the 12th of April 1947, score ending up Newtown Jets 34, Parramatta Eels 12. And for Parramatta, it was Fred McCain and also George Cook. They got one try each. So they were Parramatta's first official try scorers, Fred McCain and George Cook. While the other Parramatta player, Les Bell, he got Parramatta's first ever 3 goals. So Fred McCain, George Cook and Les Bell, I'll be honest, have been Parramatta's first ever point scorers, despite the fact that it was a very disappointing loss to Newtown, 34 points to 12. But it was just one of many in 1947 and many years to come, which we'll get to. While for Newtown, they were only like an average sort of a team at the time, but like did enough to beat the eventual Wooden Spooners. Parramatta got the spoon in the first year, 1947. So Newtown's 8 tries and 5 goals made it 34 points. Remembering tries used to be 3 points at the time. That's why 8 tries and 5 goals adds up to 34 points. So for Newtown, Lyndon McLean and Tom Pittman, they got 2 tries each, which makes 4. Then the other 4 Newtown tries, 4 players got 1 try each. That's Charles Cahill, Gerald Scully, Laurie Doran, and also Norm Jacobson. They got Newtown's 8 tries in 1947 round 1, while Keith Froome was his name. He was a Newtown player who got 4 goals in this game for them. And then the other Newtown player, Bruce Ryan, he got 1 goal. So they had 8 different point scorers in the one game altogether. So that's rings alarm bells for Parramatta's defence, even though it was only their first game ever and they were only amateurs. Ring alarm bells for Parramatta's defence. And like I already said, things definitely did not improve for the rest of the season. By the end of the 1947 season, after they played their 18 games, Parramatta had won a measly 3 games and lost the other 15 to end up with the wooden spoon. In attack, they could only score 230 points for the season, and in defence, they conceded 494 points in defence. 424. Sorry, they scored 230 and conceded 424 points in defence. Not as much as 494, but still a lot. The for and against was minus 194 points. So Parramatta conceded nearly double, not quite, but nearly double the amount of points that they scored, which is always bitterly disappointing. Whether you're a fan of them or not, that's always bitterly disappointing. A team to be defending that pathetically, even though it was only their debut season. And like I always say, teams who can't defend end up down the bottom of the ladder. And that's exactly what happened. The only 3 games that Parramatta did manage to win in 1947 took to round 9. Believe it or not, they took to round 9 to finally get their first win. And in 1947 round 9, they managed to scrape past Western Suburbs 13 points to 8 to get their first ever win. So it's 1947 round 9, Parramatta 13, Western Suburbs 8 and Cumberland Oval. First ever win and also their first ever home ground win. That was round 9, and then in round 14, Parramatta managed to beat Eastern Suburbs 14-13 at the Old Sydney Sports Ground. So the Old Sydney Sports Ground, that's just basically Allianz Stadium, like where Roosters play now and where Roosters used to at the time. It was just a different stadium that faced in a different direction before it eventually got bulldozed to make way for the old SFS. And now Allianz, so just to clarify in case people didn't know what the Old Sydney Sports Ground was, Parramatta beating Roosters 14-13 in 1947 round 14 at that venue. And then in 1947, to get their first ever away win. So the winner of Roosters round 14, their first ever away win. And Parramatta's only other win in round 16, an 11 points to 6 win over Manly at Cumberland Oval. And Manly were only a tiny little margin better than Parramatta and finished second last in 1947. So that's all Parramatta could do in 1947, win 3 games, and the 15 losses most of them pretty heavy. So this one in round 1, 34, 12 loss to Newtown, pretty heavy. Most of the losses, in fact, pretty heavy. And then, things definitely were not improving anytime soon for them, unfortunately, because it only took them 5 more years to get another wooden spoon in 1952. Then in 1954, they got their 3rd wooden spoon. And then, believe it or not, even though I've said it in other videos before, I'll say it again, because it bewilders me, Parramatta in 1956, 57, 58, 59, 60, and 1961 picked up 6 consecutive wooden spoons, believe it or not. And that's still the all-time record for most consecutive wooden spoons by any team ever. And it wasn't until after this 6 straight wooden spoon in 1961 that the next year, 1962, after being in the comp 15 years, Parramatta finally made the finals for the first time in 1962. They lost their 1962 finals game to Western Suburbs 6-0, but at least they finally made the finals. It took them 15 years just to make the finals. And the only reason they did, in fact, finally play a lot better in 1962 was because at the time, between 1956 up to 1966, that's when St George Dragons won their 11 straight grand finals. So one of their all-time legendary players was called Ken Kearney, however you want to say it. Kearney, he decided to go over to Parramatta and coach them and fix them up. And that's the only reason they even played a lot better and made the finals in 1962. If Kearney hadn't come along, they might have even got more wooden spoons. So there you go. Parramatta Eels' first ever game, 1947 round 1, a thumping 34-12 loss to Newtown, a sign of much more misery for the rest of the 1947 season and for many years to follow. Thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end. If you didn't miss any, if you still are, so that way you didn't miss any essential rugby league information. And thank you so much all day for that eye-gouging, eyeball-splitting, brain-popping, brutal support. Your boy all day, DL47. Penrith Panthers up next. Toodaloo.